Hey, YouTube. Welcome. I'm on Twitch, and I'm doing a recap, as today I have survived 40 cycles of this Earth round our sun, Sol. And I figured, hey, I've been around for 40 years. Let's take a walk down memory lane and check out 40 games in 40 years, as I'm calling it now. Game 1, 1984. Excitebike. To be frank, I had a hard time finding games from 1984 that I was like invested in. But Excitebike, I remember liking this game. I played it way back when. It was kind of cool. I don't really have a lot to say though, considering that, yeah, I never really played it like extensively. I do remember liking it a lot, and I would definitely play this like at my uncle's house, my cousin's house, if they had. I don't think my cousins actually had it. My uncle definitely did. He was a big video game collector of, like, he still is, of like NES and Atari games. He never really cared about video games past that generation, but for those couple, he was big into it. So that's kind of what we got going here. So Excitebike, pretty fun game. Starts us off 1984, leads into 1985. Super Mario Brothers. Now this, I don't know why the aspect ratio in this screenshot, but it's what we got to work with. Man, who hasn't played Super Mario Brothers? Like, this game was everywhere for a very good reason. It was a very good platformer. Like, really defines the genre in and of itself. I mean, Mario 3 obviously was very good, but we're showcasing the original here. I remember playing this probably for the first time in my like cousin's attic. I remember one of my cousins who was much older than me just kind of hanging out with me, watching me play, and it was a nice time for me to just kind of sit and play some video games I didn't have access to in my own house. And some of the magic of this game, it's kind of crazy too, because you can see there's no backdrops in this game. This game has not even a solid color for a back. I mean, I guess during some of them there's like a blue sky, but like a lot of them are just like this black background. Like, that's it. And it's crazy that they just don't render anything to the screen to, like, I don't know, save on. I don't know what they were saving on, but it was it's still crazy that they did that. I do remember, you learn I don't even know how I learned about like the warps and like jumping on top of the level in like World 2, and but it's just one of those things that like all kids seem to know, but no one knows how they know it. It's like when young girls have that like little paper like pyramid thing that they do, like no one seems to teach them how to do it, and yet they all just suddenly, when they hit a certain age, they all just know how to do it. And those guys were like, we don't understand this bizarre technology. But yeah, Mario Brothers, obviously fantastic time. Loved that game. Now let's move on to 1986, the original Legend of Zelda. This obviously huge classic, very influential game in my own life. I really liked it. A lot of people will call this an RPG. And like, I guess, but also no. I disagree with the idea that this is, I would say this fits the action adventure category. Honestly, the original Metroidvania, frankly. Like, these Zelda games were like really big on that whole thing of like, you gather the tools and then the tools allow you to access different areas, and there's not really a lot of backtracking in the original LOZ, but at the same time, it's an open world on the NES. Like, huge game, not just influential to myself, but influential to just games in general. The idea that you could do something like this is pretty incredible. And it's just a fantastic little game. I remember again playing this. They, like, my cousin like had like the gold cartridge. And then it was just like the shiniest, amazing thing in their collection. You just like pop it in and you run around. You have like no idea what you're doing because there's like no one to talk to in this game. But yeah, it's pretty cool, and I just love it to death. It's great. I might go back at some point and actually replay the original, but It's hard. I would say like playing the original Mario Brothers game is probably easier than playing Legend of Zelda, the first one. A lot of people don't like Legend of Zelda 2 for some reason as well, but I don't know. I feel like that has more to it, and it's like more interesting in a lot of ways, despite the fact that like it's also probably just not as good. 1980. What is this? 87? It's 87. Yes, 1987. A lot of people probably have never seen this before, but if you're as old as I am, you've definitely seen this. Mixed Up Mother Goose, a point-and-click adventure game on the PC way back then. This game is kind of hilarious. You wind up in a world of just bizarre little Mother Goose like fairy tales, and you're in all these little nursery rhymes, and you've got to like correct them all, which honestly gets pretty insane. Like, you actually have to like get the right stuff to let this old woman who lives in the shoe, you need to actually get it so that she beats all of her children and sends them to bed. It's kind of wild. I feel like if this was in modern times, they'd figure out some way to make it a little nicer. But here we are. Yeah, I had to pick the Lady of the Shoe because this was probably just the one that, like, just seeing it unfold is like, what were we thinking, man? Like, how insane is that? But yeah, and again, this would also kind of kick off the my particular love of point-and-click adventure games. Unfortunately, not a lot of them made it onto this list because I want to showcase a whole bunch of different games. So this kind of, unfortunately, encapsulates my love of the point-and-click genre, despite like not really being able to hit like Curse of Monkey Island or any of those like that, Day of the Tentacle, things like that. 1988, Dangerous Dave, a game that a lot of people assumed they pirated because they know they didn't buy it. But the reason they know they didn't buy it is because this game was actually always free. This was a game that was made by one guy. I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. But it was a little platformer made for the PC. You collected gems and trophies, and that would get you points, and then you would get a key, and that would get you to be able to open the door at the end of the level. And that was the whole thing. It was a very simple little platformer on PC. Honestly, really good, like very well-made platformer for its time, and on the platform especially. Like, you didn't make PC platformers for the most part. Like, there were a couple like action platformers and whatnot that were a little bit more involved. Jill of the Jungle probably being one of them. Duke Nukem, the originals, things like that. But they weren't like this. Like, this is more of like a Mario style sort of thing, and frankly evil. I mean, look at these gems that are just like floating above fire. That will kill you. You just have to spend a life to get that gem. If you're if you have to collect everything, you just die a lot in this trying to get every gem. It's a little crazy, but yeah, again, free game. I think there was a sequel that was sold, but most people remember this. I think there was a follow-up that people continue to buy because they're like, oh, it's available. Like, I played this as a kid, and like, I know I pirated it. The guy's like, yeah, that game was actually never for sale. You were fine. You didn't have to buy this. But I think it's really cool that people are still willing to go back and say like, hey guy from 1988, I liked your game. Here's some cash. 1989, Sim City. I played a lot of this too with my sisters, hanging out on the PC. This is a game that would, like, you'd start out with all good intentions of like building up your very poorly rendered city, and you'd sit there and you'd work and you'd cordon off all these areas. You're like, here's the industrial like districts, here's like the commercial things, here's the like residential stuff. We're gonna build my power plant over here. And then inevitably you would get bored and you would just spam the thing to have Godzilla attack your town because you just couldn't deal with it anymore. It just got boring really fast, essentially. But we still had a lot of fun with it. So I wanted to showcase it. 1990, Wing Commander. I don't think there is a game that I was quite as obsessed with when it was initially out. And that's saying something, because I've been obsessed with a lot of games since then. But Wing Commander, like I've written Wing Commander fan fiction. I played the games just absolutely just to death. Like, and I've specifically never seen the movie because I don't want to hurt my opinion of Mark Hamill. But yeah, these games were great. I love these space sim games. I used to play a lot of like TIE Fighter and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter as well, but this is where we had room in the list. And frankly, I don't think I could have picked any other game from 1990. This was my life for a while at my grandfather's house, just playing this game forever. Back when every PC had a joystick, and it was like not hard to have these kind of sim games and play them nicely. Nowadays, a lot of these kind of games, if they do make them, they make them with like mouse only control, and it's like, bruh, we at least mostly have like game pads that you can still, there's a stick you can still use. But unfortunately, no, we don't really get these kind of sim games anymore. These sort of space dogfight simulators, and I mean they were doing this back before they had like proper 3D rendering, and it's insane how they were able to make all this work with sprites. Frankly, like it's really impressive to me how they're able to manage that 360 degrees of movement and still render things at various distances, and it's crazy. I'm so impressed. I would never be able to do this. Like I literally could have like 100 years of programming experience. I would still be like, what? Like that makes no sense to me. 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog. Now I played most of Sonic 2, but this is where we had room in the list. And Sonic 1, I still played it. It was still very fun. I played it at a cousin's house. I guess specifically my mother's cousin's house, so it's a little bit second cousin's house. I don't know, but you know, I'd go over there and you know, these family visits or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, can I please play the Genesis? Can I play the Genesis? And like naturally, it was constantly like, yeah, sure, you could play the video games or whatever. And so I would go in there and I would just hog the console the entire time instead of hanging out with any family. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog was probably, I mean, for as much as I played Mario and Mario 3, most of my platforming hours definitely went into Sonic 2. I've played some Mania and liked it, although I found it to actually be like a little too challenging and a little bit ridiculous. But man, some of these old Sonic games really hit still. I think I think the thing that really makes these games work in particular is that their whole premise is go very, very fast from left to right. And that is really easy to do when you only have like up and down to worry about. It's easy to go forward very, very fast when you don't have to worry about, you're not like 3D platforming where it's like, oh, I've got to worry about like all of these different directions. I got Z-axis and Y-axis and X-axis, and it's like, in this, it's literally just like you're always going X positive. The question is, what do you do with your Y-axis? And you're jumping, and it really, you just focus on that and kind of hit those like rhythmy sections of jumps. And that's why I think the original Sonic series was my personal favorite when it comes to platformers. Just really good stuff. Also, the ring mechanics are also very good, I think. It lets you really just run. As long as you have one ring, you're invincible. So you're free to just run. 1992, Wolfenstein 3D. This game, I played this. Well, I played the shareware version of this game to death. It was great. It was fantastic. You know, like again, just technologically, it's also very impressive. But at the same time, like, you know, it's very, very good. But I think maybe more than Wolfenstein, 1993, Doom. This is the game I really want to talk about, but they kind of tie together. But I felt like I still had to put both of them on the list because I played so much of both games, and I'm not sure what else would have been on the list for 1992 anyway, what was available. So I just had to go with Wolfenstein 3D. I have to go with Doom. I don't think there are any two more impactful games in my own life. You know, this was everything. I would go over to my grandfather's house and I would play Doom nonstop. Not even Doom 2, Doom. I would play just the original Doom over and over and over again. And I had a chance to recently play through some Doom, OG Doom, using Crunchy Doom. I also played a little bit with Jeezy Doom. I was playing with Crunchy Doom because of Archipelago, but man, Doom still hits. The game is super fun when you're able to like have like modern controls like WASD, mouse look. The game is incredibly fun. It looks like garbage, but it's so much fun. The audio design is amazing. The sound of the shotgun in particular, just firing and firing and firing, really great. The fact that you're able to just move very, very quickly. You don't have to think too much about your shots is like also another thing that makes the game just really fun to play. And yeah, overall, it's an incredible time. The music is great. The level design is frankly evil most of the time. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to play. It gives you that sort of tense feeling in the firefights, but also just gives you that power fantasy when you're just slaughtering these demons and zombie soldiers, and it's just so good. And again, like technologically, like this is an incredible feat. Like this was literally a game they said could not be done. You'd have to program the whole thing in assembly, and it would take up more space than anybody had available on one machine. And then, you know, John Carmack just comes in and John Carmacks it and flips the whole thing on its head, calls 2 lines of assembly in C, and all of a sudden you don't need to write the whole game in assembly. You just write the whole game in C except for 2 lines. And they just built this out of nothing, and we owe all modern gaming to the Johns. John Carmack is, I can't remember the other John, but I think the other John was also pretty great too. But John Carmack in particular, I think, is just a freaking genius, that guy. And we all owe everything, I think, to him. 1994. There were a lot of games from 1994, but I decided we had to go with Earthworm Jim. I've drawn fan art of EWJ. I've watched the cartoon. I played the crap out of the video games. My sisters and I, to this day, will still walk around going, Plasma! Like, it's just stuck in my brain. It will never go away. It is a wonderful, irreverent, bizarre, humor-packed video game. And I picked this screenshot in particular because I think this sums up the game probably better than anything that I could in words. But yeah, super funny game. Love this franchise. I hope it would return someday, but I kind of doubt it. I doubt that it ever would. It's really fallen out of like the thought process of a lot of people. I think they actually might have tried to like make another entry, like Earthworm Jim 4 at some point, and like it was even worse received than like the 64 version, like EWJ, like Earthworm Jim 3D, which I have never played. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's like zero shot that it would ever come back, but I don't know. A guy can hope, right? A guy can hope. 1996. No, sorry, 1995. Warcraft 2, The Tides of Darkness. This game. I remember seeing this game at a friend's house and being like, wow, that's incredible. I have got to get this game. And then I bought Warcraft, not realizing that he was playing Warcraft 2. So I played a lot of Warcraft because that's what I had. And then eventually I would come around to buy Warcraft 2 Battle.net Edition. Because if you didn't buy the Battle.net Edition, Battle.net was still charging you a subscription fee to play online. So, but if you bought the Battle.net Edition, you got Battle.net access for free for life. So it was totally fine. You just get the beginning and you're golden. And I played, again, this is another one. RTS games were huge in the 90s, late 90s especially, and this game was no different. It was massive. It was a ton of fun to play. It was also an absolute pain in the butt. It upgraded Warcraft's original 4 max unit selection to 9. It was something. You could actually select a decent chunk of units. It still took forever to move your armies because you just select, move, select, move, select, move, select, move, select, move, select, move. It would just take forever. And Blizzard would take forever to figure out how to actually like properly implement unit selection in any of their RTS games. And but yeah, again, Warcraft 2, phenomenal game. I played the crap out of it. What's really funny about the Warcraft like franchise is that like initially my understanding is that Blizzard got the rights for Warhammer and they were going to make a Warhammer game, but then last minute Games Workshop pulls the license and they go to their like, you know, their artist, their like lead artist, I'm blanking on the name right now, Chris Metzen. They go to Chris Metzen and they're like, Chris, you have like some experience writing stuff, right? Can you write us an entire new story for this game? And he was like, oh crap. And so he did though. He managed to pull together this story out of nowhere, and it has served as the basis for Warcraft ever since. And if it ever feels like there's no intentional direction for the Warcraft series, there isn't. It's just all fly by the seat of your pants kind of stuff. But 1996. This was originally on my list, Diablo, and then I was pulling screenshots and realized that Diablo did not come out in 1996 as Google initially told me. It was 1997. So, in its place, Pokemon Red. The first Pokemon game I played, and the only Pokemon game I played for a very long time. It's kind of funny. When Pokemon first started kind of coming out, I had like one guy I knew in high school. Was it high school? Middle school? I don't know. It was after 5th grade. I know that much at least. Because I was homeschooled at the time, and I was friends with this guy through our homeschooling like co-op group. And he was the biggest dork I've ever known. Like, I love the guy, but also the biggest dork I've ever known. He wore like, he every day was like gray sweatshirt, red baseball hat, red shorts, red sneakers with the he had laces, but like the Velcro lace protectors. Like, even if you're a sweatshirt and shorts kind of guy, I think that when I introduce the shoes, it really sets the picture off at that point. And the two things he loved were Pokemon and EverQuest. And he is literally the reason I did not touch Pokemon or EverQuest for years. I was like, clearly, those are for dorks. I am not a dork. I'm just a geek. So I'll play these things over here that are a little bit cooler. But eventually, during my pirate phase, I would come around to be like, hey, I mean, I'm stealing everything, so let's play some Pokemon. And I played Pokemon Red, and I did enjoy it. I did think it was a lot of fun to play. Kanto still has a lot of sentimentality for me. I would eventually come around to the series in its entirety years later. But for a while there, I was like, hey, Gen 1's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. I remember I had Charmander as my starter, and I would do that basically every single time. Always start with the fire starter. Forever. It's almost always bad. Like, if you're looking at the early gyms, it's like almost always a terrible pick. But what can I say? I like my fire starters. It's just half the game start off with a rock gym. And It's like literally any other pick would have been helpful. So, but hey, there you go. 1997. It really couldn't be anything else but Final Fantasy Tactics. This is a game I have purchased 3 times. I bought it on the PS1, I bought it on the PSP, and I bought it on Android because I'm desperate for them to make a remake. I so want them to remake this game so I can play it again on PC with some like I can text I could read, because I tried like emulating the PSP version and I could not get the text to be readable like at all. Like it was very blurry and horrible, and even like changing like it was as good as it was gonna be, and with my sight it just wasn't very readable. So I would so much love this game to be remade to where it's easier to read the dialogue, because the story of this game is incredible. This was probably the first game, it might not be, but it was probably the first, it was one of 2 games. I've only ever played 2 games that I played, started in the daylight, had the sun go down, and then come back up, and I'm still playing the video game. I've had that happen with 2 games. One was Final Fantasy Tactics, 2 was Freelancer. Both were when my whole family were out of town and I was in my house alone as a teenager. It was real good. This game, like, just the way they just drop you into the world, let you experience it rather than handhold you. They don't do a bunch of lore dumps. It just lets you experience it, and it lets the game be more about the characters than it is about the plot. And so I love it. I love every little struggle that is in this game. It's phenomenal. And it made me love this whole idea of the tactics RPG. And frankly, it's one of those things too where I feel like I've never really had anything that's lived up to it. Like, I liked Jeanne d'Arc, or however, Jeanne d'Arc, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. On the PSP, I thought that game was really, really good. I didn't like Disgaea, or Disgaea, or however you pronounce it. I didn't like that game super much. I'm not a huge fan of blanket. Fire Emblem. Not a huge fan of Fire Emblem, but like Tactics hit. This game was so good. And it wasn't just that the story was so good, it was the mechanics, the way that the game worked. I just loved every little piece of the battle system. I just adored it. It was just fantastic. 1998. We're at StarCraft. Literally no game more pivotal, I think, for me. I know there's a lot of those on this list, and I would say probably similar things for Doom, but like, honestly, StarCraft, this game got me into so many things. Because it wasn't just the RTS, which, oh, by the way, we upgraded the unit selection again from Warcraft 2 to 12 units. So from 9 to 12. So we're doing better. We're doing better. But yeah, so the game is fantastic. It's still played at a highly competitive level to this day, because it's just such a well-made PvP game. But also, like, it's hard. It's very hard. But the story, I think, was another thing that brought me in. I love the story to this game. Following all of the characters through their various journeys is just, it was incredible, honestly. I remember this was the first game I got emotionally invested in the game. When Kerrigan is left behind at New Gettysburg, I was beside myself with anger at the betrayal that Mengsk brought about. Like, it was just unconscionable to me that he would leave Kerrigan on a infested world where it was his order that put her there in the first place, to make sure that the world got overrun by Zerg. The Protoss didn't, intervene like they were trying to. And he leaves her there to die. And her revenge run is epic. It's honestly pretty just, because he sucks. I hate that guy. But I remember screaming, Kerrigan! Like, it was crazy. Like, I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. It was a level of drama I had never seen in a video game before. Ever. And then you get to, like, the map editor. And I would sit in the map editor for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours just making games inside this game. And it really made me learn a lot about game design, but it also made me just really just have a hunger and a passion for that, just to make things in video games. It was honestly almost more interesting than playing it. 1999, Final Fantasy VIII. This hit at the perfect time. I was in high school. I spent almost every day basically cosplaying as Squall. Like, Squall was me. Squall was just, I'm just sitting there, like, head down, whatever. I'm better off alone. You know, typical teenage garbage. So it hit at the perfect time. And not so much, I just like the game as well. The game is very good. I've never been one to use a lot of magic in Final Fantasy, like in JRPGs. So, like, I like the fact that I could just junction the magic and get stronger basic attacks. That was always very, very good to me. I really liked doing that. It was something that I enjoyed doing. I know a lot of people don't like the junction system. I did, but I can understand why people probably didn't like it so much. I guess what I don't understand is why people are so beholden to 7, because I really don't think 7 is very good, but clearly we're all gauging what we like about these games on different scales, which is why I don't like 7 very much, and a lot of people don't like 8 very much, but love 7. So that's fine, and I'm actually glad that there are 2 games that, like, everybody can enjoy. I will say too, like, I eventually really came around on 9. Like, I had assumed that 9 was gonna be a little stupid, but I played through it during the pandemic and loved it. It was fantastic. And part of it was forcing myself to really dive into the story by voice acting the entire game. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, obviously for me, it was incredibly pivotal in my life. It just hit at the right time, basically. All right, 2000, Deus Ex. Loved this game. This game was so much fun. Again, just the world that you drop you into, the way that you're allowed to explore the different philosophical ideas being played out in the game are incredible. It's just super fun to play. They give you a lot of freedom. The level design was frankly pretty amazing for 2000. Obviously, compared against a modern game, it's not very good, but for a game of its time, it really gave you a lot of different ways to approach situations, skip things, solve different things with different tools and whatnot. And I think that was one of the massive strengths of this. And we don't get very many of these. Like, honestly, like, I guess the most recent example would be like Cyberpunk is probably like the closest modern thing to this. In some ways, Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided are actually less like the original Deus Ex than Cyberpunk in a weird way. Like, I don't know. I really don't like the modern versions of this. Pretty much everything after the original, I don't care for. But the original, huge place in my heart. I played this game a ton. I kind of also like package it together with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. They're both of that sort of like early 2000s studio kind of putting its last drop of effort, blood, sweat, and tears into the project, and desperately try to scrape by and coming up with this gem. And so I love it, and I'm just so grateful that it exists. 2001 SSX Tricky. Yes. Tricky. This game was amazing. I remember sitting around playing this with my PS2 with my sisters, And this game was amazing. You play it, you could play this thing single player, no problem. It was a lot of fun to play. Although I think SSX3 was better for single player, but we have Tricky here to represent the series. And certainly the head-to-head was incredible. And I know people who've asked me why I prefer this over some of the other snowboarding sims of the day, and I'm like, the other games are like legitimate snowboarding games. SSX has like a magician who can saw his own body in half with his snowboard. Like, I can snowboard in real life, and I actually, that was back when I was actually actively snowboarding every year. I haven't gone in a while, but like back then, like I legitimately was doing the thing. Why would I want a video game to do it more? Like, the real thing is better. So for me, it was like, yeah, you get to live out the weird fantasy of bizarre tricks that would never be possible in real life, the very arcadey nature of the racing sim, and it was just a ton of fun. I loved Tricky, and it has got that song stuck in my head literally forever. So 2002, Metroid Fusion. This is definitely my favorite Metroid game. I have started playing a whole bunch of them, and I have not gotten very far in many of them. But Metroid Fusion, I really enjoyed, and I did complete. Unlike Prime, frankly, I didn't like Metroid Prime very much. I thought the controls were so bad. Like, at the time, I thought they were so bad, and I hated the backtracking. It wasn't so much that like, oh, lol backtracking, but it's like the amount of backtracking and the distance you would backtrack in Metroid Prime. Like, if you could fast travel, the game would be like 20 minutes long, because most of the time it's just retraversing the same couple of paths, and I don't think that should be. This should be more like, not necessarily like a hub with a whole bunch of like things spidering off of it, but there should be like, it should be like semi-optimized so that you're not constantly retreading the same path over and over and over and over and over and over again. But yeah, I thought this game was really, really fun. I wish the story was a little bit more in depth, but for a handheld game, I thought it was really good. Really kind of cool. Really cool stuff. 2003, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. This game was so hype. Dude, like, I don't think I can properly express how fun this game was when it came out. I played this a lot, and it was one of those things where the music was such a huge part of it. The music was so good. I loved that very Arabian beat and like the traditional noises being pumped in, but then like the kind of electric guitars to kind of like modernize it and really pump up the drama of the intensity of the action, I thought was incredible. It was so good. And I frankly like the combat mechanics where it's kind of like just sort of the jump around, easy mash the A button sort of style, but then like you got to finish him off with the dagger. I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was pretty funny as well, where the deeper you go into the game, the less clothes the prince ends up wearing. He just, every like chapter break, he just rips off another piece of his shirt basically, and then by the end of the game, he's just wearing nothing but pants. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I never really enjoyed the rest of the series, but Sands of Time, I think was a perfect game. So 2004, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. This game is just super cute. It's super fun. I really enjoyed playing this on the GameCube oh so many years ago. I'd love to play the remake, but I don't love to pay full price for remakes of Nintendo games that I own. So we'll see. I think I'm going to try to see how the stability is for, I think it's Dolphin, right? That's the GameCube emulator. So I don't know. One day we'll see if I could get it actually done, but there you go. Love this game. Super cute. And I would love to actually like replay the game at some point. 2005, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I played this game every single morning when I got home from work, when I was working third shift. I'd get home from work, I'd fire up the PS2 with the giant modem adapter on the back, and I'd get on Battlefront 2. And I'd start with the headset on, and then before I knew it, I hated everyone, and so I stopped doing that, and I just wouldn't listen to voice ever, because I did not need the garbage that was going on in those voice comms. Granted, they were better than they are now. So like games now, it's nothing but slurs and assaulting your mother and just trolls and just nastiness, and it's awful and I hate it. But back then it was just like stuff like, I don't know, a guy would start narrating what he was doing in the game to like his friend in the kitchen, or like two guys would start talking about baseball. And it's like, this is not useful communication. Like, I'm not here to get your life story. I'm here to tell you that the rebels are taking point one. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, can we please just play the video game? So eventually I would just be like, screw it, we don't need comms, we just play without. 2006, Twilight Princess. My personal favorite of all of the Zelda games. And I had to pick a screenshot here with Wolf Link because that's got to be the highlight of the game, right? Yeah, just a lot of fun. And frankly, it gives you a good reason to talk about how Wind Waker hurt me. So I remember Ocarina of Time blew my mind. It was crazy. Great game. So a friend of mine and I go and we rent Majora's Mask. And we pop it in. And I was very much disappointed with Majora's Mask. First of all, Kid Link did not sit well with me after we just had Adult Link. Great, only for half the game, but still. Point being, you gotta remember too, in Legend of Zelda 2, he's married to the princess. So it's not like, granted, it's a different Link. It's a different Link. We all know that. But the point is, it's not like we haven't had an adult Link in games before, and I've never been one who's enjoyed. I like children in real life. Children are wonderful. Children in media, I despise and have always despised. When I was a child myself, the last thing I wanted to see was a child on the screen, because they're not interesting. Show me the adults. You know, show me who I want to be, not what I am, I think was always my thing. Like, I never wanted to be represented. I wanted to be shown an ideal to strive toward. Which is part of why, like, I think that, like, it doesn't, for me, it really doesn't matter who the protagonist is. It matters, it doesn't matter what the protagonist is. It matters who the protagonist is. It's why Lara Croft is one of my favorite heroes of all time, because of the reboot. I think she's incredible in that game. Excuse me. But yeah. So, disappointed, and I looked at my friend, I said, if he is not an adult the whole way through the next game, this series is dead. Now, obviously, that was very wrong of me. But I said it, I was young myself at the time. And we got shown, after this, we were shown a trailer of, it was just working title, The Legend of Zelda, and it was a grown Link on grown Epona riding across the field, slashing up moblins and spraying blood everywhere. That was the trailer we got. The next we hear from the series, Wind Waker announced. Cell shaded, youngin', not what we were promised. And so I was very, very, very angry. And I have never played that game to this day. I have gotten over it. I will go back and play it at some point. I just have not got around to it. But I was very mad. But then Twilight Princess was announced. And I was like, finally, what we were promised. And it actually did deliver. Unfortunately, I pre-ordered the GameCube version. It was supposed to come out first, but Nintendo wanted to sell Wiis, and the Wiis were coming. So they delayed the GameCube release so that it would release first on the Wii. to try to get people to buy that first, and then it would release on GameCube after. So again, Nintendo just wants to hurt me. Which, the more I think about it, the more I keep wanting to not give them any money. But it's good. It's a very good game. It's a very good game. And I would like to do a replay of it at some point in the near future. 2007, Rock Band. So, this was the first PS3 game I bought. Literally, the day after Christmas, I drove down to the GameStop. Well, first I went to an ATM and I pulled out $400. Then I went to the GameStop and okay, I'm not gonna get into the other story that happened in the line, but needless to say, we got through the line. I let people go ahead of me, and because I knew it was gonna take some time, and I got up to the counter and I'm like, I need a PS3, and I want like the Rock Band stuff. I want Rock Band. And I want the Rock Band like controllers. I need like 2 guitars. I need the drum set. I need a microphone, and we got the whole thing together. I think I might have bought. I can't remember what the other game I would have bought at the time was, what my first like initial games were. I know Rock Band. Rock Band was definitely the number one. It might have been like Madden? Like that might have been a game that I purchased for this. Maybe SSX3, but I think SSX3 might have come later, so I don't know. But needless to say, this was our life for a while. Like we'd have people over all the time. We would play this. We would play Beatles Rock Band. And family gatherings. We would very often with just family gatherings. Like my brother-in-law's family would be over, and we would just play Rock Band. And it was a lot of fun. Everybody loved this game, and I saw the peripherals, but I don't think they work anymore. And I don't know. It would be a lot of fun to hook those things back up and start doing that again. But yeah, it's been a while since any of us have touched this. But it was a lot of fun back in the day, because we used to love like karaoke. What was it called? Like karaoke party or something like that? I don't know. 2008 Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Unfortunately, we have this screen. I wanted to get like a screenshot like of actual gameplay, and like I was having a hard time finding like gameplay on Giant Bomb. So we get this. It's kind of show the UI, I guess. I mean, everybody knows Smash Brothers. Everyone's played Smash Brothers. I liked Brawl a lot. Like I liked the original. I liked Melee. I liked Brawl a lot. I don't know if there's a Smash Brothers game that's come out that I didn't like, but we definitely got a lot of use out of Brawl. On my Wii, and it was a ton of fun to play. Snake was a weird choice, frankly. It still is to me. He's a bit weird, but for the most part, love this game, love this franchise. It's a lot of fun. Is there much more to say about it? I guess I could. So I main Pikachu, and always have since the original. And it was because originally I was a Link player, because I like Zelda, so lol, play Zelda or Link. And so I'd play Link, and a friend of mine would play Kirby, and another friend of mine would play Fox. And the Fox player was like dominating at first, but eventually the Kirby player was like the guy. And I played a lot just 1v1s against that guy, and I'm like, he is so slow, but like he's still able to dance circles around my Link. And I'm like, I need a character who's faster. And I'm like, I didn't really care about Pikachu at the time. I didn't care about like Pokemon at the time, but I'm like, Pikachu is fast. So I started playing Pikachu. Love that guy. I became the terror. I was the one that everyone was afraid of when we started getting together back in the 64 Smash Brothers. And I have played Pikachu ever since. And I'm actually kind of happy that Pikachu sort of like has descended from being like Mega S tier to just being kind of floating around A tier. I don't ever want my character to be like worthless, but never do I want my character to be like super busted. I like it to be just kind of like generically good, and just fun to play. And so like Pikachu has always been that for me, where I like to kind of like dance around the stage, not getting hit, and then waiting for people to get to high damage, and then just finishing them off. Is it fair? No, but that's why I tell people, please don't play stock with me, because you're not going to be happy. Like, you need to play timer so that I have a reason to engage, because otherwise I will just dance around the outside and never die, and then I'll just finish off the last person, and it's not gonna be fun for them. So, and I don't want to be that guy. I want to be forced to go in, but if I'm not forced to go in, I'm not gonna go in. Like, it's just not gonna happen. 2009, Dragon Age Origins. StarCraft was the first game I got emotionally invested in. Dragon Age Origins is the first game I ever actually roleplayed in. I actually felt like I was roleplaying. I was so into this game, and I loved the characters, I loved the setting, I loved the story, I loved everything that was going on. I love the combat system, frankly. I know apparently a lot of people didn't really enjoy it because they kept moving the combat system away from this kind of Baldur's Gate style, like, pause-based combat, I guess you could call it. And man, I loved this game. This game was so much fun, and I just wish they had ever made a sequel. 2010, StarCraft is back on the list, and it's back on the list for good reason. StarCraft 2 was not just, like, Wings of Liberty especially, was not just kind of like, for me, the pinnacle of StarCraft, but it was, like, the reason I got into, like, playing games, like, competitively, like, for reals. And I drilled this game, I watched my own replays, like, constantly, I watched educational content. I was really deep into this game. And I played it a lot. And it was a ton of fun. And I wish I could still play it. But unfortunately, it's really hard for me to play it with my sight. And so it sort of just languishes. And I wish I could go back and play Wings of Liberty again. But unfortunately, those days are gone forever because of Legacy of the Void. But that's okay. We move on with our lives. Also, this game was the first time I started going by the name Luxury Yacht. So there you go. Another thing that was important about this game and myself was this was a huge turning point in my life. 2011, Skyrim, the game everyone but me has bought 50 times. I played it a ton, like everybody. I actually played it a ton. Did not play it anywhere near as much as most people. I have a friend who played it for like 140 hours. And, I was the one who played it for 140 hours, and they told me that I have not scratched the surface of the game, whereas I felt I had seen everything the game had to offer. But yeah, the game is it was a lot of fun when it first came out. It got old, I think, after a while. But that said, like, man, when this came out initially, like, it was pretty impressive. It was a very impressive game. I mean, even visually, like, looking at this right now, this is probably modded, so take this photo with a grain of salt, but it looks pretty good. Like, the game looks pretty good. Even back then, there were, like, you know, high-res, like, mods that you could get for it and everything, so who knows what the difference between this screenshot and what it would have looked like originally. But yeah, Skyrim was really great. And I remember it came out literally the day my nephew turned 1 year old. And I have been in trouble for joking about being upset about not being allowed to just sit down and play the game all day, and having to go to this 1 year old birthday party who would never remember it. But people have a hard time seeing that as a joke, so I keep getting in trouble for it. 2012, Borderlands 2. What a great game. Talk about perfect games. Borderlands 2 was so much fun. Borderlands 1 was okay, but Borderlands 2 was really where the series was great. Like, Handsome Jack's writing was amazing. The gameplay was really tight. Yeah, like, I mean, there's not really necessarily a lot to say about it, but it was a lot of fun. If you've played it, you know that. If you haven't, what's wrong with you? It's probably like $5 now. Like, go buy it. Like, play it. It's really, really, really good. I guess the only problem is if you jump into it, you're gonna feel like you need to play 3, and you don't, because 3 was pretty terrible. 2013, the next Pokemon game I ever played. So it was kind of funny. So with Pokemon X, I missed the bus ever so slightly. when this game came out, literally everyone was playing it. Everyone. And they were all playing it at release, and everybody was so hype. Now, granted, I think the hype died relatively shortly, but like when it first launched, everybody was stoked. And because of that, and people were sort of playing together. You had like the things where you could give people buffs. And so people would play at the same time. And it was this big like communal thing of everybody doing their Pokemon journey at once. And I remember looking at that and being like, I wish I was a part of that. And it's what made me give this another shot and actually play a new Pokemon game for the first time. And Fennekin's adorable as well. So there's that. Unfortunately, it evolves, but it's adorable. But yeah, honestly, I thought it was good. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, it's too easy, yada, yada, yada. But like, for just a mainline game where you're just sitting back trying to like play through a game, like it was super fun. And I like Team Flare probably more than they deserve. I don't know. There's just something about like the goofiness of their whole like, oh, we're all about being beautiful and stuff like that. That was just like hilarious to me. And yeah, anyway. This is cheating. There weren't really a whole lot of games in 2014 that I actually played. Stick of Truth was there, but when I looked through the screenshots, everything was so offensive that I decided that I wasn't going to show them. And so I'm cheating because this is Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition, the PS4 version that I played at a friend's house. We played the normal D3 on the PS3 way more than we played the PS4 version, but I'm counting it here because it's my list and I can do what I want. But yeah, it's funny because on PC, which is where I would default to wanting to play these games, Diablo 3 was not great. Like, it was super kind of boring, and playing co-op was iffy. And yeah, I don't know what it was, but there was something about the PC version that just didn't really click. For as much as I love Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, D3 just kind of was meh. But then when I got D3 for the PS3 and my friend got it for PS4 and we would hang out and play it at each other's houses, there's just something about being in the room with everybody that I think was part of the reason why Diablo 3 suffered. Because how did you play Diablo 2? Most of the time that we played Diablo 2, we played it LAN. So we were all in the same room. And it was the console that let us be all in the same room again for Diablo 3, and that made the game infinitely more fun. And so that's why I'm featuring it here, because it was a good time. And yeah, it's kind of funny though, like as the list sort of continues to go on from here, you're gonna notice that like I'm not quite as passionate about many of these games. 2015. Yeah, that was 2014. 2015. Fallout 4. Another one where honestly, the list of games that came out in 2015, I don't really care for that much. I don't even care for Fallout 4 that much. I never played it to the end. I played a bit of it and it was okay. Just okay. I never really cared that much about it. I had more fun in Fallout 3, frankly. You know, but it's okay. The game's okay. And for 2015, I really couldn't find anything better. 2016, Overwatch. You know it. You hate it. It's Overwatch. I jumped into Overwatch initially because a friend of mine wanted to play, but wanted someone to play with. And even though I was going blind at the time, I said, well, I could always play Mercy. Like, hey, Rav, what up, man? Yeah, we're just going through 40 games in 40 years. So we're up to Overwatch already. But but yeah, I told my friend, like, hey, I can always play Mercy. So I jumped in the game with him, played with his brothers, and then he dipped after that. He didn't really care for it. And but I had a blast. So I kept playing it. It was actually what most of the people that I know at this point I actually met through Overwatch, which is crazy to me. Even like friends of friends that I've ended up sort of running into were run into actually, Rav, you would be one of these people. Yeah. I sought out people to play this game with, and I managed to find some very good people that I enjoy playing a lot of games with. And while I don't play quite as much Overwatch 2 as I used to play Overwatch 1, I still have fun playing it. It's okay. 2017, Night in the Woods. Now, this game I am passionate about. To turn things back around, this game was incredible. I need to go back and replay it. So good. First of all, this art style is amazing. Who needs good graphics? Like, you need art. And this game is art. And it's phenomenal. Even just some of the lighting that you can see on the sides of these buildings kind of spilling through is actually incredible with this very flat style. But yeah, this was a chill game, but also like occasionally tense. Like, it's just an emotional ride, and it's just so much fun. And I love the characters. They have a lot of problems, and it's just all about like figuring life out. 2018, Octopath Traveler. Again, actually another game I actually really enjoy. Octopath. I wish Final Fantasy had stuck with this, frankly, but I don't know. Octopath is great. It's a return to form for Squaresoft. Just being able to kind of cast off the demands, the chains of like what corporate expects people to want in video games, and to just give people a classic RPG experience that people just weren't making at the time. And again, visually, it's very stunning as well. They really put Unreal to work in this game with sprites, and this kind of classic look to it. But a lot of fun, some very mature themes actually, but a lot of fun, a great battle system, and great characters to boot. And I think that's what really makes the game good. 2019, Control. Okay, you know what? We're in a big stretch of the games I actually really do enjoy. Control was phenomenal. Talk about, again, a story game. Like, this is weird because it's not really a story game. You could say it's a story game, but it's not. This is a lore game, and normally I would hate that, but this was so good. They would just sort of reel out a little bit to you every little bit, and it all felt very natural, and the world that they create around you is so much fun. And I guess the heart line through the piece, right, is I can't remember her name. The main character and her brother. That connection between the two of them is really the heart of the game. I guess her and the entity in her head. I guess that's another part of it, but it's phenomenal. Love it. 2020. It could be no other. When the pandemic hit and Animal Crossing New Horizons dropped just after, it was the perfect game at the perfect time. I'm not saying the pandemic was perfect. I'm saying that, like, it was the right time for this game. Everybody was trapped in their house. Everybody wanted to just relax, spend a lot of time doing basically nothing, and just chill and just have a happy little time. And Animal Crossing hit. It was the perfect game for that period in time. And I remember even getting back to work after being laid off for a couple months and sitting there in the hallway playing Animal Crossing. And this guy sees me on my Switch as he's walking past. And he points at me, and goes, "Animal Crossing?" And I'm like, "You bet." And it's just like everybody was playing it, and like it was like honestly like one of the first games that like everybody was playing that I was actually a part of, because I usually skip those things. But it was a fun time. I don't think I'll ever play another Animal Crossing game or anything in the genre ever again. But I really enjoyed my time with the game when I was playing it. 2021. So this is the first time I found a spot in the list to put Final Fantasy XIV. I feel like it really does matter that it's Endwalker. Not just because it's the end of the story for that section of the game, for the, from 2.0 all the way through 6.0, actually. it's not just that it's just the end of the story, but it's also, I jumped in late Shadowbringers. So the first new content I got to experience was 6.0. And it was phenomenal. I loved the game so much. An emotional roller coaster like I had never seen in an MMO. And again, talk about a game that was kind of life-changing in a lot of ways. Like, I met a lot of people through the game. I became, aware of a lot of the people in the community, and the community is like, again, one of the second reason I think to want to play the game is the community. The fact that the people who play this game are so nice and patient. Now, I occasionally still get people who pull bosses when I'm clearly in a cutscene, but it's still so few and far between that I rarely even get worried about it when I'm streaming, for a new run or whatever. So, yeah, just an incredible time, an incredible game, and I'm so happy to feature it on this list. Now, 2022 is where we start having a little bit of trouble. So we picked Stray, because Stray was super cute. I didn't play any other game that came out in 2022. Not one. So this was the one game I played from 2022. And I never finished it, but I did think it was super cute. I love the whole being a cat thing, and it's just a goofy fun time, and who doesn't love Stray for that? Maybe you don't like it for its gameplay or whatever, but I feel like you gotta at least respect it for being a cat game. Oh dear. Ugh. Okay. 2023. Deceive Inc. Cat game, best game. Deceive Inc. in 2023, it burned bright and burned very fast. I still love this game. I'm very sad that it got shut down. Well, the game is not shut down yet, but the developer studio got shut down, and I'm very sorry that it got shut down. It's awful, but the game is still a ton of fun to play. I'm looking forward to playing a lobby tomorrow, and yes, it's $7, so I think that's cheap enough that it's okay to ask people if they would like to purchase to get in, because I think even one session is worth $7. I think it's a ton of fun. Yes, I remember that, but super glad that we're getting at least one more shot to play. Hopefully this game will be able to be played for years to come, and it's just not going to get any more patches. But if they're not able to keep the server running, then hopefully they'll be able to somehow get the server into the fans' hands, or that fans will on their own figure out how to run a server. But there could be legal reasons why they might not be able to do that. It depends on how many microservices they're using that are licensed from other companies in their server tech, as to whether or not they would be able to give control over to fans. And I'm cheating for this last one as well. I've started playing this in the past couple of days. Final Fantasy 16 is one of the greatest video games of all time. I'm counting it as a 2024 release because it came out on PC in 2024. And frankly, PlayStation 5 doesn't exist to me. So essentially the game came out this year. It's phenomenal. Again, emotional roller coaster like nothing else I've ever played. My face is tear soaked 80% of the time that I'm playing this game. It's incredible. And it's just happy moments, super sad moments of realization where you understand deeply what someone has gone through without the game telling you. They don't need to. It's phenomenal. They don't tell you about the world either. The world is just it's this really deep lore-filled background, but it really focuses on the characters, and everything else is just an excuse to give you character interactions. And I think that is what makes the game so incredible. And it just has such a strong heart. So, and the combat's not bad. It's advanced Kingdom Hearts. If you like Kingdom Hearts combat, you'll enjoy the combat in 16. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's been so much fun. I've dumped like 17 hours into it, most of that being yesterday. I think I probably played like 10 hours yesterday. I haven't sat and played a video game like that in many years. I'm glad I chose to do it off stream because it has just been so much fun to just chill, play through it at whatever pace I feel like, and drop out whenever I want to drop out, drop back in when I want to drop back in, and not worry about like trying to maintain it as like this is what we're doing to like show off to people. We're not doing it as a show. We're doing it as we're just playing the game. But there you have it. 40 games in 40 years. That's what Hogwarts Legacy for me in between working my dissertation. Nice, dude. Nice. Video games for enjoyment. Yeah. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? And let's rewind the whole thing, shall we? So we just hold down. This was all of them. This was all of them. All the way back to Excitebike back in 1984. So, there you have it. 40 games in 40 years.